Alright, this is gonna sound wrong. It seems like everyone seems to say that it's not about the gear, it's about the photographer, myself included, and I stand by that. I recently made a video reviewing the Lumix GH5, and in that video I discussed why I was gonna move on from that camera, for photography at least, but I didn't discuss what I was going to replace it with. And that's probably not why you're here. You're either here by accident, or you're here to hear about the Olympus OMD E-M1 Mark III, which is my new camera that I replaced the GH5 with as my professional camera. I'm gonna say quote unquote professional here, because I am by no means a pro. I've made some money here and there and gotten a couple exhibitions, so I can speak a bit on photography, but I'm not a pro per se. Who is and how? So the premise of this video is that the E-M1 Mark III is better than the GH5, right? Right. And it is. If you look at camera decision or tech reviews online, honestly, the cameras seem pretty similar. Micro Four Thirds, 24 megapixel sensor, 4K video. But like I discussed in the GH5 review, the GH5 just isn't designed for stills, just doesn't have it for photography. The E-M1 is different. Before I get into the nitty gritty, a more technical review, let me kind of talk about the intangibles here. The photos on this camera, like with my other Olympus, the EPL3, there's a more brilliant feel to the light, a warmth in the colors, a melding of the deeper and nearer parts of the image. Maybe I'm a much better editor all of a sudden, but it feels like the color quality is much better on the E-M1, as well as just a general feeling of how the light hits the sensor. Probably a silly way to put it. They're both Micro Four Thirds and I use the same lenses. But that's why this is the intangibles section. Moving on, one thing the E-M1 is known for is the grip. And I read all about this before choosing this camera, and I'll be honest, I was very skeptical. Truly, I was like, how good can this grip really be? It's gonna be more or less the same as any other camera. It's really not. It's definitely the most ergonomic grip I've ever used. It is so comfortable in the hand. And to be vulnerable a moment, I definitely get cramps in my hands and, have a couple problems with my wrists at times. And I feel like I could hold this camera in my hand all day without getting weary. Moving on, this camera is highly customizable and in an easy way. People's brains work differently, I will say. And I've read so many reviews on the complexity of the menus in this camera, like, come on. And yeah, they're dense, but when you run across something that you need, you hit the little record button and it saves it to your own custom menu. Easy as pie. Furthermore, the button and dial mapping is super intuitive and easy to do. I was really able to dial in exactly how I wanted these dials to work and for what function. I have my shutter speed and ISO good to go, and my one push white balance, which is super useful as well. So I'm not overwhelmed by the crazy menu system. I made it easy for what works for me and would encourage others to do so. Now I shoot manual almost full time. I will have to go into a couple cons with the settings real quick though. Not major, but live view boost. Turn that shit off. Nothing worse than taking a photo, looking at it, and it's way different than what you saw looking through the viewfinder. Come on now. Next, peaking. I have a button mapped out for peaking, and I have to say it's a pretty weak peaking system. It turns on and off kind of whenever it pleases. Like what? I've looked into this problem and I can't seem to figure out, so if you have any tips, let me know. Next, the high-res shooting mode. To get 80 megapixel shots on this 24 megapixel sensor. I haven't quite been able to figure it out yet. The photos do come out bigger, but I often run into the problem of the photos not looking like they were supposed to. Very overexposed because like multi-exposure system and all that jazz, whatever's happening in the camera. And the feature is a bit slow. I get it. It's mostly for landscapes, not for like run and gun. I get it. Yes, it's a nitpick. And I want to figure it out better, but I've had this camera for a month and shot a lot on it, so maybe I'm an idiot is what I mean by that. Back to good stuff. Swapping between that high-res mode to single shot to silent mode is super easy, but I gotta say, I love the shutter sound on this camera. That's a little one, but I'll throw it in there. One thing that really takes a lot of getting used to is that the on button and menu button are on the left side of the camera instead of the right. It's sometimes a pro because I need to not turn my camera on and off as often as I used to sometimes. And this stops me from fidgeting in that way. But it's a con other times when I'm trying to act fast and I'm still trying to wrap my head around the backwardness of it. But they really fit in a lot of dials and buttons on here that is still somehow rather rugged and sturdy. I mean, professional weather sealing here. Great. And really a pretty small and light body. This is a really easy camera to use for long periods of time. It's smaller and lighter than the GH5, and again, the grip is so comfortable. It also features the ability to be charged via USB-C, which I haven't had to use in the field, but seems like it'll be useful for that purpose. Although it charges slower via the cable than just taking out the battery and charging the battery, in my experience. All in all, I've shot astrophotography, sports, nature, portraits, and sort of most of the above on this camera all in 1 month, and I can only do more from here. I'm very happy with the camera. It's super versatile, fast, and easy to use. The rest is up to me. On paper, it's very similar to the E-M1 Mark II that came out in 2016. The Mark II is usually about $200 to $300 cheaper according to my searches when I was getting the camera. I got this Mark III on MPB used for just under $900. That hurt. The Mark III came out in 2020, just 4 years later, and at the time was the flagship professional camera for Olympus. Now there's a few newer ones, but the reason I still chose the Mark III over the Mark II is my perceived notion of the camera's potential lifespan. Both used, I'm guessing one that's been used probably 4 years less is gonna last me longer. And this camera should suit all of my photography needs for the foreseeable future. It's a powerhouse, versatile, and so fun to use. So is the Olympus OMD E-M1 Mark III worth it in 2025? It's no surprise that I'm saying it absolutely is. This is not to say that this piece of gear here makes me a better photographer. No way, shape, or form at all. It does, however, capture my vision in a better way. So it's a more powerful tool for me as a photographer. There's a distinction there. I hope you enjoyed this review of the OMD E-M1 Mark III by me, Tony King, on my channel, which you should subscribe to because I make all sorts of photography content. Anything you imagine photography-wise, I feel like, almost, well, maybe not everything, but maybe one day, depending on when you're watching this video. So if you enjoyed this video, please stick around for another one. I've been Tony King. See you there.